Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome to all of you for this 5th chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrta, and let's begin with Mangalacharan. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamam vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Hari Hari. So we were in this 5th chapter of MadhyaLila, the activities of Sākṣi-gopāla, and we discussed, the chapter began with a discussion of how Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu, he arrives at Kattak, and there this pastime of Sākṣi-gopāla begins. So they start discussing about these two wonderful brahmanas, one older brahman and a young brahman from Vidyanagar, and they were into pilgrimage. They visit various places, and then finally they reach Sri Dham Vrindavan. So when they were in Vrindavan and they were having darshan of this beautiful, gorgeous, stunning deities of Gopalji, that time this old brahman realizes that how nicely this young brahman has been serving him. He even says, to the extent that not even my son would have taken such good care of me as you are doing, and I am very, very grateful to you. And as a reciprocation, I would like to give my daughter to you. So please marry my daughter. The young brahman, he becomes a little alert and he starts talking that generally this does not happen, because this elder brahman was from a very aristocratic family. He was very well read, learned and rich. So actually there was no such compatibility in the family background, and that is why the younger brahman was hesitating. So let's carry on in that journey and see what was happening in that conversation in the pastimes of Sākṣi-gopāla. बड़ा विप्र कहे तुम्ही ना कर संशया, तोमाके कन्या दीबा आमी करिला निश्चया. The older Brahmana replied, "My dear boy, do not doubt me. I will give you my daughter in charity. I have already decided this." So older Brahmana became very determined and he took this decision that, oh boy, oh my dear boy, the younger Brahmana was like his, now he's saying you're my son-in-law, like my son-in-law. So I have decided to give you my daughter in charity. छोटा विप्र बाले तोमार स्त्री पुत्र सभा, बहु ज्ञाति गोष्ठी तोमार बहुत बांधवा. The younger Brahman said, you have a wife and son, Stri Putra Sab. So you have a family, you have wife and son, and you have a large circle of relatives and friends. So he was coming to it that, okay, you are giving, but there are so many other people also who would be involved in such a decision. Tasabharasamati vina nae kanyadana, Rukmini rapita bhishma tahate pramana. Without the consent of your friends and relatives, it is not possible to give me your daughter in charity. Just consider the story of Queen Rukmini and his father Bhishmaka. So here we see so much of maturity on part of this younger Brahmana. So although, he can understand that, there is no family match, and he's trying to explain that to the elder Brahmana that, see, our families don't match. And then he points out, you may decide that you want to give, but then you have your you have your wife, you have your son, you have other friends and family, and they will definitely not agree to such a match. And without their agreement, how is it possible for you to give your daughter in charity to me? So from this also we understand that how, it's not just a person's decision, it's the whole family and extended family's decision. At least at that time it used to be like that. The marriage would be the whole family, extended family's decision, because in marriage is a time when two families come together. So the younger Brahmana was not at all convinced, and now he is quoting an example where from scriptures where the Queen Rukmini was due for marriage, and her father Bhishmaka had a particular desire in that regard. Bhishmakera ichha Krishne kanya samarpite, putrera virodhe kanya narila arpite. So King Bhishma, who was the father of Rukmini Devi, he wanted actually to give Rukmini in charity to Krishna. But Rukmi, the eldest son, objected. Therefore, he could not carry out his decision. So here he is giving such strong Shastric Praman or evidence from the scripture. He is saying that this is exactly what happened, that Bhishmak wanted to marry Rukmini to Krishna, but because of Rukmi, he could not proceed. So actually, because of Rukmi's pressure, if we read Srimad Bhagavatam, we understand that how Bhishmaka finally organizes the wedding with Shishupal. So the marriage was, the girl was about to get married to Shishupal. Now there is a different turn of events there. But the point here being made is that the father could not alone marry his daughter based on his desires. His eldest son intervened. And sometimes even now we see this in many cultured families. Unless everybody kinds of gives a consensual decision, yes, this girl or this boy is okay for marriage, usually families don't take such a decision where the opinions are split. Bada vipra kahe kanya mora nija dhana, nija dhana dite nishe dive kona jana. The elderly Brahmana said, my daughter is my property. If I choose to give my property to someone, who has the power to stop me? So he's calling the daughter as Nij Dhan. She is my property because she is my daughter. So I will take a decision and nobody can question me. Tomake kanya dibe sabake kari teraskara, samshaya nakari tomi kara svikara. My dear boy, I will give you my daughter to you in charity, Kanyadan. I will give you my daughter in charity to you, and I will neglect the position of all others. Don't doubt me in this regard. Just accept my proposal. So although this younger Brahmana is giving all very, very valid logic, reasoning, example, but he's not able to shake the determination of this older Brahmana. That the elder Brahmana is saying, I will give you. I'll not care about others, my wife, my son, other relatives. I will not really care. You just accept my proposal. Do not have any doubt regarding this. Chota vipra kahe yadi kanya dite mana Gopalera aage kaha ye satya vachana.
So the younger Brahman, because he tried to tell that, okay, actually that calculation, Rukmini was also the property of Bhishma, but he could not do that. But still, the elder Brahman did not hear, and he was telling, no, I am determined, I have decided, I will give. So then the younger Brahman says, if you have decided to give your young daughter to me, then say so before the Gopal deity.
Gopalera aage vipra kahite lagila Tumi jana nijya kanya iharami dila. Coming before Gopal, the elderly Brahmana said, my dear Lord, please witness that I have given my daughter to this boy. So, on the request of the younger Brahmana, the older Brahmana comes in front of the deity, Gopal deity, and he makes this announcement or this pronouncement, and he says, Lord, you are my witness that I have given. So here the charity is already done. I have given my daughter to this boy. So here you, Lord, you are the witness to this promise of mine. So earlier this custom was there that one would honor any promise made in front of the deity. So if a promise is made in front of deity, then promise must be kept. So such a promise cannot be cancelled and cannot be broken. And Prabhupada makes notes in the purport that somehow if people become actually God conscious, then all quarrels can be settled outside the court. So if people become God conscious, they have anything to settle, they can do so in front of the deity, and everybody would respect that agreement, because right now usually people enter into an agreement and then later they fail to fulfill it, and the agreed party will go to the court and they will present their case, and the court case will go on for 15-20 years without much relief. So if people are God conscious, then they can make promises in front of the deity in the temple, and they do not break their promises, and so most of the quarrels can be settled this way.
Chota vipra bole Thakur, tumi mora Sākṣi, toma Sākṣi bolai mu yadi anyatha dekhi. Then the younger Brahman addressed the deity saying, my dear Lord, you are my witness, tumi mora Sākṣi. So you have to come, I shall call for you to testify if it is necessary later on. Because younger Brahman is still not confirmed. He still feels that this person will go back, and then the whole society, community is there, and how they would behave. So he's telling that you have to come to testify if necessary.
And here we see this beautiful point that both the Brahmanas, both these devotees, they're considering, they have this very clear faith and understanding that this deity is the person. He is the supreme person. They're just talking to him as the supreme person. Oh Lord, they're addressing him, they're talking to him. So that shows that how they have complete faith in the deity.
After these talks, the two brahmanas started for home. As usual, the young Brahman accompanied the elderly Brahmana as if the older Brahman were a guru and rendered him service in various ways. So now that the elder Brahman has promised to give him his daughter, but even before this, the younger Brahman was serving selflessly without any expectation. So of course now also he continued serving him just like his guru, and they came back.
देशे सिदुई जाने गेला निज घरे कट दिन बड़ विप्रा चिंतिता अंतरे. After returning to Vidyanagar, each Brahmana went to his respective home. After some time, the elderly Brahmana became very anxious.
तीर्थे विप्रवाक्य दिलो के मते सथाया स्त्री पुत्र ज्ञाति बंधु जानिबे निश्चया. He began to think, I have given my word to a Brahmana in a holy place, and what I promised certainly come to pass. I must now disclose this to my wife, sons, and other relatives and friends. So now what is happening is that he has started thinking. In the previous verse it is mentioned that he was becoming anxious. So he was anxious now because in Vrindavan he promised, but now he was staying at his home, and when we are back to our places and then there is sort of a reality check. So he started thinking, oh my God, so I have my wife, my son, and all the society, and they should know, and how would they react? So that fear. So actually he was reminded of this before, but that time he did not care. But in this situation, when he was at his home, and then he was anxious. एक दिन निज लोका एकत्र करिला तासा बार आगे सब वृतांत कहिला.
Thus, one day the elderly Brahmana called for a meeting of all his relatives and friends, and before them he narrated what had taken place in front of Gopal.
शून्य सब गोष्ठी तारा करे हाहाकारा आईचे बात मुखे तुम्ही नानिबे आरा. When those who belonged to the family circle heard the narration of the old Brahmana, they made exclamations showing their disappointment. Kare hahakar. Hahakar mach gayi wahan par. They all requested that he not make such a proposal again. Aiche baat mukhe tumi na anibe ar. Please do not do such things. Don't do it. What have you done? How could you do that? How could you promise your daughter to such a person who does not have a proper family background, etc.? Didn't you think before? So all such things started coming in there. Niche kanya dile kula yaibe ke nasha shunina sakala loka koribe uphasa.
They unanimously agreed, if you offer your daughter to a degraded family, your aristocracy will be
Lost.
Your aristocracy will be lost. When people hear of this, they will make jokes and laugh at you. So this is what they began to worry about. That if you offer your daughter to such a degraded family, why? Because we saw that the other Brahmana was a very poor family, and they were not very learned. So there was no match. So they said, you are very aristocratic, and all that would be lost. And when people will hear of this, they will just joke about you. Uphas, they will laugh at you.
विप्रबल तीर्थ वाक्या के मन करी आना ये हाउ कसे हाउ का आमिदी बकन्या दाना. The elderly Brahmana said, how can I undo the promise I made in a holy place while on pilgrimage? Whatever may happen, I must give him my daughter in charity. So the elderly Brahman, even now, he wanted to give, he wanted to keep his promise, but now his situation was a little different and he was in an anxious mood. ज्ञाति लोक काहे मोरा तोमा के छाड़ीबा स्त्री पुत्र काहे विषा खाइया मरीबा.
The relatives unanimously said, if you give your daughter to that boy, we shall give up all our connections with you. Indeed, his wife and son declared, if such a thing happens, we shall take poison and die. So we saw till the previous verse, this Brahmana was very, very determined. Despite all that ha-ha-kar and everything that was happening, he was still determined, no, I will give my daughter in Kanyadan to that boy only. And now, so what the relative said, okay, then we will give up our connection with you. We are breaking our relationship with you. Now you have nothing to do with us and we have nothing to do with you. So this is what the relative said. But the wife and son cannot say, now we have no connection with you. Wife has to live with the husband. So they said, they understood that they cannot live like this. So they said, we will take poison and we will die.
So the wife has different way of threatening.
Vipra bale Sākṣi bola na karibe kanyaya Jiti kanya labe mora vyartha dharma haya.
The elderly Brahmana said, if I do not give my daughter to the young Brahman, he will call Sri Gopalji as a witness. Thus he will take my daughter by force. And in that case, my religious principles will become meaningless. So even now we see such staunch faith in Gopalji. So he is not thinking even for once that Gopalji will not come. He is there, what he will call. He is telling, he is quoting. This is his genuine concern that if I will not give, then he will bring Gopalji here. And that way, all my religious principles, because I am a religious person, I have given my word in front of Gopalji, and Gopalji will come and ask me, then how would I face him and what would I answer? So all what I have done so far, all my dharma, my religious principles will become meaningless.
So he was very clear that anyway his daughter will be taken away by this young Brahmana by force. Why? In the sense that Gopalji will come, give witness. Anyway, I have to part with my daughter. But because of all of this, Mora Vyartha Dharma Haya, my religious principles become useless.
Putra bale pratima Sākṣi seha dura deshe ke tomara Sākṣi dive chinta kara kaise. His son replied, the deity may be a witness, but he is in a distant country. How can he come to bear witness against you? Why are you so anxious over this? So now the son is atheistic. This is how the covered atheist also behave. That they believe, God is there and they'll do, but then they don't really, or whenever the time comes, they doubt the power and potency of the Supreme Lord. So here the son is saying that, he was a witness, but he's a silent witness in some far off country. So why do you think he will come? How will you come? How will he come here? So don't worry about that. Why are you so anxious?
And this is again very interesting. This boy or this man who's speaking this is a so-called Brahmana.
Born in an aristocratic family, educated, learned.
And he is making such a statement. So, this is very unfortunate.
Nahi kahi na kahi oi mithya vachana sabe kahi be mora chu nahi ka smarana.
You do not have to flatly deny that you spoke such a thing. There is no need to make a false statement. Simply say that you do not remember what you said. So we understand that when a person is an atheist, then his moral standards also change situation to situation. So here we see that this person was saying, I'll take poison and die, and he was ready to do anything. So he also knew that his father is a great devotee, and then he would not falsify his promise. So which means it was very clear to him that my father actually has made such a promise, and he wants to keep that promise. Now he was searching for a way to nullify that. So he said, okay, you do not falsify your statement. You do not flatly deny that you spoke such a thing. You just say, I don't remember. Mohi kichu nahi ka smarana. I'm not able to remember that promise. Tumi yadi kaha ami kichu na jani tabe ami nyaya kari brahmane rajini.
If you simply say, I do not remember, I shall take care of the rest. By argument, I shall defeat the young Brahmana. So now, as we were discussing, that this person is a learned Brahmana himself. So he is telling that by argument, I'll take care of him. You don't worry. But you just say, I do not remember. So though he is the knower of the religious principles, but he is not the follower of the religious principles. So there is a difference between the two. Eta shuni viprera chintita hoila mana ekanta bhave chinte vipra gopala charana.
When the elderly Brahmana heard this, his mind became very much agitated. Feeling helpless, he simply turned his attention to the lotus feet of Gopal. So we see that this Brahmana is like being tied up by his son and by his wife and by his friends and relatives. They're not letting him to execute, and on the top of it they're telling him to tell a covered lie that I simply do not remember. So this really agitated the mind of this Brahmana. He felt so helpless, and the beauty is that a devotee, whenever he feels helpless, he knows where to go, because they are always under the shelter of the Lord. They always remember the Lord. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So whether going is good or going is bad or it is very difficult. So here this is an example where this Brahmana just turned his attention to the lotus feet of Gopal.
Mora dharma raksha paya na mare nijana Dui rakshakara Gopala ino sharana. The elderly Brahmana prayed, My dear Lord Gopal, I have taken shelter of your lotus feet, and therefore I request you to please protect my religious principles from disturbance, and at the same time save my kinsmen from dying. So the older Brahmana, because of the family pressure, he was not able to execute what he has promised. So again, he's taking shelter of Gopal and saying that please find a middle way out so that my family is also satisfied and I follow my dharma as well.
Ei mata vipra chitte chintite lagila Aradina lagu vipra tanra ghare aila. The next day, the elderly Brahmana was thinking deeply about this matter when the young Brahmana came to his house. Asina parama bhakti namaskara kari Vinaya karina kahe karadui udi.
The young Brahmana came to him and offered respectful obeisances. Then very humbly folding his hands, he spoke as follows.
Tumi more kanya dite karya cha angikara Ebe kichu nahi kaha ki tomara vichara. You have promised to give your daughter in charity to me. Now you do not say anything. What is your conclusion? So this young Brahmana, possibly he was waiting for some time, and then now he's saying, see, you made the promise and now you're just quiet. What is tumhara vichar? What are you thinking? What is your conclusion?
Etashuni se vipra rahe mauna dhari Tanra putra mari te ailahate thena kari. After the young Brahmana submitted the statement, the elderly Brahmana remained silent. Taking this opportunity, his son immediately came out with a stick to strike the younger man. So there was this unfulfilled promise, and the younger Brahman was inquiring, and then the older one did not know what to do. So he was just quiet. And we see how violent his son was, that he came out with a stick. Are adhamora bhagni chaha vivahite vamana na chandayena chahata dharite.
The son said, Oh, you most degraded, you want to marry my sister just like a dwarf who wants to catch the moon? So this is how this son of the elder Brahmana became angry. He's saying, you adham, you most degraded, you want to marry my sister it's like a dwarf man trying to catch the moon. It is not possible.
Hena dekhi se vipra palana gela aradina gramir loka ekatra karila. So now this is also something which would happen in in ancient times, and even now in villages this practice is there, that if there is a disagreement, they try to resolve it locally. They try to resolve by calling a panchayat, and the senior people, they sit, and then whatever they decide, and the whole village follows. So when here something similar was happening, seeing a stick in the hand of the son, the younger Brahman fled. The next day, however, he gathered together all the people of the village. So he comes with all the villagers there.
सब लोक बड़ा विप्र डाकिया अनिला, तबे से लागू विप्र कहिते लगिला. All the people of the village then called for the elderly Brahmana and brought him to their meeting place. The young Brahmana then began to speak before them as follows.
इह मोर कन्या दीते कर्याचे अंगीकार, एवे ये न देना पूछा इहार व्यवहार. This gentleman has promised to hand over his daughter to me, yet now he does not follow his promise. Please ask me about his behavior. So he narrated the case and he was requesting others to find out what has happened, and he is still telling that he is a gentleman and he has promised. So what happened now? तबे से विप्रेरे पूछिला सर्वजना, कन्या केने ना देहा यदि दियाच वचना.
All the people gathered there asked the elderly Brahmana, if you have already promised to give him your daughter in charity, why are you not fulfilling that promise? You have given your word of honor. So, what was that an amazing time where what words come out of our mouth are our words of honor, and it is expected of us that what we speak is what we follow and fulfill.
I mean, they were not asking the younger Brahman that where is that deed? Where did he sign? What is it? So that is how the people were asking the older Brahmana.
So people were much simpler and they were not so neglectful of their duties, because people were dharmic. They understood that if I speak, give my promise, and if I don't do that, I will have to suffer for that sin. So it was considered a sin, and everybody would like to follow and fulfill the promise that they gave. So that's why all the people of the village were asking, you have given your promise and you're not fulfilling. Why is that?
The elderly Brahmana said, my dear friends, please hear what I have to submit. I do not exactly remember making a promise like that. So under the pressure, finally the elderly Brahmana took his stand and said that I don't remember the promise.
Etashunitanra putra vakya chalapana pragalbhaya kahe sammukhe asina. When the elderly Brahmana's son heard this, he took the opportunity to juggle some words. So this was the opportunity for that atheistic son, because this is what he told his father. When they ask, you just tell, don't say that you did not make such a promise, just say that you don't remember, and then I will handle the situation. So this triggered him. Yes, now my father said, now I have to, come in front. So becoming very impudent, he stood before the assembly and spoke as follows.
Tirthayatraya pitara sange chela bahudhana, dhana dekhi e dushtera laite hailamana. While touring various holy places of pilgrimage, my father carried much money. Seeing the money, this rogue decided to take it away. Arakhe sange nahi sange kala, dhutura khaya ape karila pagala.
There was no one besides this man with my father. Giving him an intoxicant known as dhutura to eat, this rogue made my father mad. So now what he's building this whole story that my father was carrying so much of money and there was no one with my father other than this boy or this person, and he gave him some dhutura to eat. And this, that intoxicant, my father could not keep his balance, and he, spoiled his consciousness or whatever, made my father mad. He could not find what is right and what is wrong.
Sabadhana lana kahe chore laila dhana, kanya dite chahi ache uthai lavachana. having taken all my father's money, this rogue claimed that it was taken by some thief. Now he is claiming that my father has promised to give him his daughter in charity. So we see that how, like we were discussing at that time, people were so honest and they would abide by their words, and also actually that category of people were in majority, and this category which we are reading here, the son of the brahmana, this was in minority. That time the culture was that more and more people were cultured, more and more people were theist and believer in God and devotional and spiritual. Currently, it is the opposite way around. Currently, we find more and more people who are either openly atheist or they are covered atheist, who though believe in God, but just in case if God exists, that is why they believe in God, not because that they have faith in God and that is why they believe in God. So anyway, so now what is happening is that this person is actually doing a complete character assassination for the younger brahmana. He's calling him words, he's telling him that he intoxicated his father, he's also telling that he stole money, and he is making a false promise. So just to prove one thing, he has to make fabricate such a story. And the shocking thing is that the father is quiet. The father was so impressed at that time that on his own, he actually compared the younger brahmana to his son also, and he spoke those words that my son would have not taken care of me like how you are doing. But what we are witnessing here is that when we get too attached to our family members, to our relatives, then we tend to compromise the real religious principle. So though the elderly brahmana was very nicely situated in his consciousness, yet just because of the association or because of his attachment to his wife and the son, he is not able to take a stand, not only for not giving his daughter, but so much blame game is going on and he is just quietly witnessing all this.
So in any case, he has taken shelter of the Lord and he's having full faith that Lord will protect me in this dilemma.
तुम्हारा सकल लोका करह विचारे, मोर पिता कन्या दीते योग्य की हारे.
All of you assembled here are gentlemen. Please judge whether it is befitting to offer this poor brahmana my father's daughter. So of course this was the village and everybody knew the position of this elder brahmana, and he was just he raised this question that you're all gentlemen, and you judge whether it is befitting to offer this person who has no match, no family match, whether my father's daughter should be given to him or not. So we see that the devotee is policed from within, but who's a non-devotee, he needs an external police. Etashuni lokirmane haila samshaya sambhavedhan lobe loka chade dharma bhaya.
Hearing all these statements, all the people gathered there became a little doubtful. They thought it quite possible that because of attraction for riches, one might give up his religious principles. So the villagers also became doubtful because he was speaking with such a conviction and the father was keeping quiet.
तबे छोट विप्र कहे शोन महाजना न्याय जीनी बारे कहे असत्य वचना. At that time, the young brahmana said, "My dear gentlemen, Mahajan, please hear, Shona. Just to gain victory in an argument, this man is lying, asatya vachan. Just to cut my statements, he is lying, this man, the son of the elder brahmana. Eve pramora sevai tushtaya behaila tore ami kanya diba apane kahila."
Being very satisfied with my service, this brahmana said to me on his own accord, I promise to hand over my daughter to you.
Tave muni nishedhinu shuna dvijavara tomara kanyara yogya nahi munivara. At that time, I forbade him to do this, telling him, "Oh, best of the brahmanas, I am not a fit husband for your daughter." So here we see that this young brahmana, because the atheistic son is just speaking nonsense, So now he started narrating the whole incident so that the people of the village understand the context.
Kaha tumi pandit dhani parama kulina, kaha moni darid murkha nicha kolahina. Whereas you are a learned scholar, a rich man belonging to an aristocratic family, I am a poor man, uneducated and with no claim to aristocracy. So he is repeating the entire conversation that what has happened, and he is accepting that yes, I told him at that time itself that I am a poor, uneducated with no aristocratic background. So it is not a match. Tabue vipra more kahe bar bar, Tore kanya dilu tumi karah svikara.
Still this Brahmana insisted. Again and again he asked me to accept his proposal, saying, I have given you my daughter, please accept her. So here this young Brahmana is telling that there was so much of force from this Brahmana's side that no, you must accept my daughter.
Tabe ami kahila nahamati, tomar stri putra jane nahabe sammati. So actually, it is exactly happening the way the younger Brahmana has told. So there he has mentioned that you are a learned Brahmana, your wife, friends and relatives will never agree to this proposal. Kanya dite nari beha beha satya vachana, Punarapi kahe vipra kariya yatana.
My dear sir, you will not be able to fulfill your promise. Your promise will be broken. Yet, again and again, the Brahmana emphasized his promise.
Kanya tore dilu dvidha na kariha chite, Atma kanya dive mokeba parinishedite. I have offered you my daughter, do not hesitate. She is my daughter, I shall give her to you. Who can forbid me? So he is repeating the whole verbatim of the conversation, that how this elder Brahman was again and again telling him, despite this younger one trying to convince him that this is not okay. Tabe ami kahila dridha karimana, Gopalera age kaha e satya vachana.
At that time, I concentrated my mind and requested the Brahmana to make the promise before the Gopal deity.
Tabe ho Gopal yete kahila, Tumi jana ei vipra kanya midila. Then this gentleman said in front of the Gopal deity, My dear Lord, please be witness. I have offered my daughter to this Brahmana in charity. So he has actually already offered. It's the past tense. Tabe ami Gopalera Sākṣi karina, Kahila tanra pade minati karina.
Accepting the Gopal deity as my witness, I then submitted the following at his lotus feet. Here we see the actual deity. This picture on the slide that you see is the picture of actual Gopal deity, the deity that traveled from Vrindavan to Vidyanagar, from Vidyanagar to Cuttack, from Cuttack to Puri, and finally from Puri to the place it is situated currently. The deity is situated currently between Bhubaneswar and Puri.
Yadi vipra more nadi be kanyadan, Sākṣi bolai mu tomai hariyo sadhana. If this Brahman later hesitates to give me his daughter, my dear Lord, I shall call you on as a witness. Please note this with care and attention. So he has not only, firstly, he was like telling the Brahmana that be careful, don't do this, don't do this. And then he has told the Supreme Lord also that please note this with care and attention. Haiyo savadhan, carefully write it down, I may call you. Vakya Sākṣi mora che mahajana,
Yandra Vakya Satyakari Mane Tribhuvana. Thus I have called upon a great personality in this transaction. I have asked the Supreme Godhead to be my witness. The entire world accepts the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here this young Brahmana is saying that I have called the best personality, the highest personality as my witness. And nobody can refute the words of God. So God is my witness.
Tabe bada vipra kahe satya katha Gopal yadi sakshi dena apayasi tha Tabe kanya devami jani nishchaya Tanra putra kahe bhal baat haya. Taking this opportunity, the elderly Brahmana immediately confirmed that this was really true. He said, if Gopal personally comes here to serve as a witness, I shall surely give my daughter to the young Brahman. So now here, even the elderly Brahman thought that this, if it happens, then everyone would be satisfied and I would not be breaking my religious principles only if this boy goes and gets the Supreme Lord to be the Sākshi. Bada vipremane Krishna, bada dayavana, avashyora vakyate ho kariba pramana.
The elderly Brahmana thought, since Lord Krishna is very merciful, he will certainly come to prove my statement. So this elder Brahmana not only had faith in the Lord, he also had faith in the wonderful qualities of the Lord, and one of those qualities, infinite qualities, is that Lord Krishna Bada Dayavan, he is very, very merciful, and because he is so merciful to his devotees, he'll definitely come here to prove my statement true.
Putre ramane pratimana asive sakshi dite e buddhya dui jana haila samate. The atheistic son thought, it is not possible for Gopal to come and bear witness. Thinking thus, the father and son agreed. So the father agreed because he had faith that the Supreme Lord will do something to keep his words. And the son agreed because he was confident that the Supreme Lord would not walk and come all the way here. Chota viprabale patra karaha likhana Punayena nahi chale sabavachana.
The young Brahmana took this opportunity to speak. Please write this down on paper in black and white so that you may not again change your word of honor. So now he is not taking any chances.
Maybe that is how this pratha of writing and signing deeds and contracts started.
Yeah, so now he didn't want to take chance. He said, no, better put it in writing, and otherwise we don't know. I'll bring the deity. Yeah, I'll bring the deity from there. The Lord will come, and then again you will change your opinion. So better write it down.
Tabe sabaloka mili patrata likhila duhara sammati lana madhyastha rakhila. All the assembled people got the statement down in black and white, and taking the signatures of agreement from both of them served as the mediators. Tabe chota vipra kahe shuna sarva jana e vipra satya vakya dharma parayana.
The young Brahmana then said, will all you gentlemen present please hear me? This elderly Brahmana is certainly truthful and is following religious principles. So for this young Brahmana, we see that there was no trace of anger against this elder Brahmana. And in fact, now he is proclaiming. See, this younger Brahmana only called the entire village in front of all of them so that they should not doubt this Brahmana. They should not disregard and disrespect this Brahmana. So he's making this very, very clear. This young Brahmana is making very clear to all that this elderly Brahmana is certainly truthful. He is very, very truthful, and he's following his dharma. He is following his religious principles. Satya Vakya Dharma Parayan.
Svavakya charita iha nahi kabumana
स्वजन मृत्यु भय कहे असत्य वचन.
He had no desire to break his promise, but fearing that his kinsmen would commit suicide, he deviated from the truth. So this younger Brahman, though he was not formally educated and all, but then we see that how much wisdom he has and how he does not get affected by the lower modes. He does not like feel angry or upset, or he is not calling words to the older Brahmana. He is not even asking him once that why you are not opening your mouth, did I not serve you properly, why are you allowing your son to accuse me of such things. So he understands that because this elderly Brahmana is doing everything because he's under tremendous pressure, and so he's clarifying his position that I completely trust this old Brahman. It is just because he has been threatened, that is what is making him to deviate from the truth.
इहार पुण्य कृष्णे आनी साक्षी बोलाइबा तबे विप्रेरा सत्य प्रतिज्ञा रखिबा. By the piety of the elderly Brahmana, I shall call the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a witness. Thus, I shall keep his truthful promise intact. So this is also very wonderful statement spoken by the younger Brahmana. Younger Brahmana is not saying that I am such a great devotee. I am the one who told the Lord, please savdhan, please note that if the requirement is there, I'll call you. So he's not giving that as a reason. He's saying that this elder Brahmana is very, very pious. He's a great devotee. He's very, very wonderful devotee of the Lord. And because he's such an exalted Vaishnava, to serve him, the Lord will come as a witness. And that is how the Lord will come, so that this elder Brahmana is not falsified.
एतशूनि नास्तिक लोका उपहासकारे केह बाले ईश्वर दयालु आस्थितेह पारे. Hearing the emphatic statement of the younger Brahman, some atheists in the meeting began to cut jokes. However, someone else said, after all, the Lord is merciful, and if he likes, he can come. So there were two categories, the astic and the nastic. So the astic, or the non-believers in God, they started making fun, whereas those who had faith, they said, yes, anything is possible. Krishna can come. तबे से ही छोटा विप्र गेला वृंदावना दंडवत करी कहे सब विवरणा.
After the meeting, the young Brahmana started for Vrindavan. Now Vrindavan very far, and he traveled on foot. Upon arriving there, he first offered his respectful obeisances to the deity and then narrated everything in full detail. So here we see that how much, again, the question of faith, this young Brahmana did not have a momentary doubt. He immediately started for Vrindavan to ask and bring back the Lord as a witness.
ब्राह्मणय देव तुमी बड़ दया माया दुई विप्रेर धर्म राखा आना सदाया. He said, my Lord, you are the protector of Brahminical culture, and you are also very merciful. Therefore, kindly show your great mercy by protecting the religious principles of us two Brahmanas. So he narrated everything, and he requested the Supreme Lord to keep their promises. Kanya paba mora mane hanahi sukha brahmanera pratigyaya e bada dukha. My dear Lord, I am not thinking to become happy by getting the daughter as a bride. I am simply thinking that the Brahman has broken his promise, and that is giving me great pain. So he is appealing to Gopalji. He is telling what is there deep within his heart. So right from the beginning, actually, we saw that he was not attached to the girl. It was not that in the attachment of the girl he was serving the Brahmana. And even when the girl was offered to him, he was trying to tell that this is not proper. But then what is causing him so much of pain is that the promise of the elder Brahman would be broken. So first, before making that promise, he was trying to tell him not to do that. And now he's trying to do everything to protect the promise of the elder Brahman.
So like he was continuously serving the brahmana on the pilgrimage, now he's serving the brahmana by protecting his promise.
Eta janito mi Sākṣi dehadaya maya, jani Sākṣi nahi deya tar papahaya.
The young brahmana continued, "My dear sir, you are very merciful and you know everything." That is true. Lord is very merciful and at the same time he is Sarvagya, he knows everything. Therefore, kindly be a witness in this case. A person who knows things as they are and still does not bear witness becomes involved in sinful activities. So now Brahmana, now this person is talking to the Lord. See, Lord, you know everything. Okay, you are merciful also, which means you can do and you know what is the right thing to do, and then ideally you should be giving witness. But even after knowing everything, still if you do not give witness, then you will be involved with sin. So this is how this Brahmana is telling me, Lord, you will be incurring sin if you do not come and give witness.
Krishna kahe vipra tumi yah svabhavane, sabha kari more tumi kari hasmarane. Lord Krishna replied. Now interestingly, Lord Krishna is replying actually.
Gopalji.
Gopalji is talking to this young Brahman. So Brahmana
deity.
made a petition and the deity is telling, my dear Brahman, go back to your home and call for a meeting of all the men. In that meeting, just try to remember me. So Krishna is telling that you go, remember me and I will take care of it. Don't worry. So Krishna is assuring. Avirbhavaha na ami taha Sākṣi deba, tabe dui viprer satya pratigya rakhiba.
I shall certainly appear there, and at that time I shall protect the honor of both you Brahmanas by bearing witness to the promise. So you call the entire village like you did earlier, and then you concentrate your mind on me, and then you think of me, and then I will appear there, and I will protect your honor, both of your honor, by bearing witness. So this was Lord's plan.
Viprabale yadi hao chaturbhuja murti, tabu tomar vakya karuna habe pratiti. The young Brahmana replied, my dear son, sir, even if you appear there as a four-handed Vishnu deity, still none of those people will believe in your words. So he's telling that you, this form, this particular deity, this Gopalji, you have heard it. The promise was made in front of you. So if I go there and you appear there in four-handed form, they'll say, no, this was not the one. This is not the deal what was there. Ei murti giya yadi, ei Shri Vadane, Sākṣi deha yadi tabe sarvaloka shune.
Only if you go there in this form of Gopal and speak the words from your beautiful face, will your testimony be heard by all the people. So this we see here that young Brahmana was trying to convince that elder Brahmana before he gave the promise. And after he did not fulfill the promise, then younger Brahmana convinced the village people. And now he has come here and is convincing the Supreme Lord that no. You are giving your idea that you go there and remember me and you will appear and give witness. Nobody will accept that. He's saying that you have to come in this particular form of Gopal and speak from your own mouth. You have to speak these words that yes, I am bear witness. This was promised in front of me. From your beautiful face, you will have to give testimony, and then only all the people of the village will get convinced.
So here we see that this wonderful, devout Brahmana, he is saying, Ei Murti, Ei Shrivadan, Sākṣi Deha, means this Murti, this particular deity has to come. Isn't it very interesting and fascinating? So here we will end this session, and we will see in the next session as what happens next. What did Gopalji says, whether he will walk or he will not walk, whether he will talk or he will not talk. So for that, we will continue in the next session. And for this session, I want you to write down any 3 very important learnings which you would like to apply in your own life. So kindly leave that in the comment section. Looking forward to all your comments. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. And yes, before I forget, there is this course, Worship at Home. We announced it in the last session. So those of you who have not yet enrolled, kindly do that by visiting our website, studygita.com/WAH, and engage our mind, body, and thoughts in this most beautiful form of deity worship. Hare Krishna.
Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Krishnadas Kaviraj ki jai, Nidai Gaur Premanande.
Hare Hare.